Hello, and welcome to Reality Remix, the podcast, episode 9. I'm your host, Dale Jensen, and an item that you might have missed in the recent news is Democrats cut a deal to pass President Biden's infrastructure plan, with the House also passing a massive social net spending bill that Senator Manchin has repeatedly said he will not support. Is this just posturing, or is it possible that they've worked something out with Manchin? With me in the studio for this show are Dennis.
Thanks for inviting me aboard, Dale. With the Democrats, they're posturing. Okay, they threw out a number that was way too big. The progressives and the Republicans, they have a say-so in this too. 3.2 trillion, no way, we're not passing this. So let's posture a little bit and throw a little tantrum.
Right, exactly. Also with us is Jim.
How you doing, guys? Having a great
good.
day?
Doing great.
All right.
And Solomon.
Hello there. How is everybody tonight?
Good.
Excellent. Episode 9, Facebook ads / who pays taxes. Kind of a split topic today, but I had slotted in a discussion about taxation in the United States when we bumped up into censorship of our show by Facebook. I'm the Facebook administrator of our page, and as I've been doing since the page was started a number of years ago. Over the years, and particularly since the reboot, I've been paying to run ads on Facebook for the page to help build an audience. By the way, if you like these posts or episodes, subscribe and give us a thumbs up to the YouTube videos. You're doing more for us than my spending does. So when I posted a link to Dennis's episode last week, Trump's new social network, I expected to get a few more likes and subscriptions. Instead, I was sent a "Your ad is under review" email from Facebook, quickly followed by a "Your ad has been rejected because you're making a political post and we need to confirm who you are," which I kind of understand. If the post was political, which it really wasn't, they want to know where the money is coming from because the Federal Elections Commission might come after them if they can't put it off on someone else, which I gave them the runway to do, responding to the request for additional information, personal in nature, but after doing that, Dennis's episode remained censored, no reason given. So, we've an uphill battle. If you can help by liking and following on Facebook, subscribing with notifications on YouTube, or just streaming the shows on YouTube, it is greatly appreciated. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps. Any thoughts from the studio?
I thought it kind of funny that it was Trump's social media, and the algorithm that Facebook probably uses probably censors anything with the letters TRUMP and automatically red flags it for a review. And then when you talk about Trump doing anything, they banned him from Twitter, for Christ's sake. That's just ridiculous there, that you ban the president of the United States from a social media account. That's really barbarian there. That's censorship, period, plain and simple.
Right, and then we get in trouble for mentioning Trump in the title of an episode.
Well, you didn't really get into trouble. They just say, we're not going to promote this material because it's bad.
Right, yeah, because we disagree with it. All right, moving along to my separate topic, taxation by the federal government of the United States. So there is a Democratic buzz phrase that resounds over and over, quote, "Make the wealthy pay their fair share," or "just pay your fair share." In that sentence, we need to focus in on what is someone's fair share, because that's really all there is in there. We're going to be working with statistics of the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, the ultimate authority as taxes go, and for the year 2017, the most recent available data. According to the IRS's stats, in 2017, 143 million taxpayers reported earning $10.9 trillion in adjusted gross income and paid $1.6 trillion in individual income taxes. Well, that's pretty broad. 143 million is pretty close to half of the country. And after we subject non-taxpayers, those under the age of 16, and over the age of, say, 70, it's well over half the country. Back to the IRS. The share of reported income earned by the top 1% of taxpayers rose to 21% from 19.7% in 2016. So more people in the top 1%. Their share of federal income taxes rose from 38.5% to 37.3% it rose to 38.5% from 37.3% in 2016. So, of the top 1% of those people that the left keeps complaining don't pay their fair share, they in fact earn 21% of the income subject to taxation, and they picked up the tab of individual taxes up to almost 40%. So 40% of the income tax brought in by the IRS is accountable to 1% of taxpayers. That pretty much negates the narrative of the rich don't pay their fair share because they're paying almost half of the taxes in the United States. According to the Tax Policy Center, an independent observational organization, in 2020, the 20%, again, the elite, paid 78% of the income taxes brought in by the federal government. Top 20% paid 78% of the income taxes. In 2017, the top 50% of all taxpayers paid 97% of all income taxes, while the bottom 50% paid the remaining 3% of income taxes. With this in mind, the key numbers are that the top 50% of the population paid 97% of the taxes, while the bottom 50% paid what was left, 3%. And a lot of the poor paid zero in income taxes. And part of me has no problem with that. A single mother who is having a hard time finding a job, I'm not going to go after her. But when it becomes systemic, when thousands of people take the easy route of not working, accepting government handouts, and demanding government services, that's an issue in my mind. This is balanced by a CNBC survey of all US citizens who said that in 2020, 61% of Americans paid no federal income taxes at all. Now, we must acknowledge that 2020 was a bit of an outlier, a year when the federal government was conducting an experiment to determine what happens when you institute lockdowns, throwing millions of people out of work, and then hand out checks to people not to work. And guess what? A lot of people were fine with that, and 61% of them paid zero income tax as a result. Let's consider a wealthy person who most likely earns $250,000 a year and pays about 50% of the taxes levied in US income tax, and compare them to a poor person, let's say earning $25,000 a year and pays nothing in taxes. Who is paying their fair share? Just do the math. There is no evidence whatsoever that the poor and middle class people in the United States pay most of the income taxes in this country. And it's not much of a leap to say that many of them, in need of police and fire protection, probably use more government resources than the rest of the population does. If you can cite numbers that are different from mine, from up and up sources like the IRS as I used, I'd like to hear them. Post in the comments below. So, from my read, it seems that all of the they should pay their fair share claims, whether from Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, it's just a bunch of nonsense dog whistles. Studio?
Yeah, I'm going back to, that's a lot of numbers you threw at us and percentages. I scribbled down a few little notes, but you're saying 60% of the population pays no taxes, or that was only for the year 2020?
In 2020,
Okay.
61% paid no income tax.
Okay, but then 40% of the population is equal to 1% of the rich people, the quote unquote rich people out there. Now, you said 143 million equals the 40%. But how much did they actually pay in taxes? Trillions of dollars? 1.3 trillion?
Let's see, 1.6 trillion, 2017, 143 million taxpayers paid 1.6 trillion in individual income tax.
Okay, so that's basically most of the revenue that the government takes in.
Correct.
Yeah, that's just mind-boggling. I mean, they say the current administration is saying we're only going to tax the rich. If you make over 150,000 a year, whatever the number is they had, that's may or may not be accurate. We're only going to tax the rich, and they qualify a rich person as 150,000 per year.
I think that the number that the Biden administration, that Biden ran on was $400,000 when he said nobody earning less than $400,000 is going to get additional taxes, which we know is a lie because he said that he wants to overturn the Trump tax cuts from 97, excuse me, 17, and doing that will raise the taxes on pretty much everybody. So that's not true. When he's talking about instituting a gas tax or driving tax, that's going to affect poor people more than the super wealthy. I don't think Jeff Bezos drives himself to work. Um, so yeah, the claim, and it's become particularly egregious with uh, this social net spending plan that the House Democrats have cooked up. Uh, I think it's 1.75 trillion or something like that, and they're making the ridiculous claim that it's not going to cost anything. We're going to spend 1.75 trillion dollars, but we're going to tax the crap out of billionaires and and pay for it that way. Well, I got news for you. You could confiscate the wealth of all billionaires in the United States, and it's not going to put a huge dent into this $1.75 trillion spending bill.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly, and that's called socialism there.
well, yeah, but it's a basic impossibility. I remember back when Ocasio Cortez put out the Green New Deal framework or whatever it was, and I went through, and I don't even remember why I was doing it, but I went through it and figured out how much it would cost to do what they were talking about because the original framework for this thing was just absolutely ridiculous. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, I remember that.
everybody had to get a new car. Every building in the country had to be torn down and replaced with a green building. And I figured it all up, and it would take more money than exists in the world to do that.
Totally
Um,
unrealistic.
right, exactly. And yet they're trying to implement it by just saying, "Oh, it's only 1.75 trillion dollars, and it's all paid for." Well, it's not. One thing I was kind of disappointed by the House, they had said that some of the moderates in the Democratic Party had said, "We're not going to vote for the social net until the CBO comes back with their scoring of how is this going to affect um, the actual costs because they're trying to say that it's paid for by using little tricks like um, certain programs aren't going to start for 5 years. Other programs are only going to be running for 1 year. Well, they're going to renew it. So that's ridiculous. They're just trying to cram something through in the limited amount of time that they have to get something done because they know that they're probably not going to be in charge and after the 2022 elections, and so this is the sort of shenanigans they're coming up with. And again, to get back to my piece, what aggravates me is this insinuation that the wealthiest 1% who are paying billions of dollars in taxes, yes, they do get tax breaks that other people don't really qualify for because other people aren't buying a lot of real estate or stocks or things like that. But they are paying taxes, and they're paying probably in a higher percentage as far as their usage of government functions than the poor people do. So, in my mind, the person who's not paying their fair share is the person who's paying zero. Okay, that's not paying your fair share.
Yeah, but then they also give them an earned income credit per child, and that number just escalates that they're bringing in because their tax return, just to throw a number out there, $3,000, whatever. But they've paid zero into the system, and yet they're getting money back from the system, which I don't see how that balances out in the long term.
Well, yeah, I mean, earned income
It's a
tax
slow
credit.
drip of the system. Okay, sure, we can cover that because we have trillions other dollars, and 3,000 to a trillion it's a speck. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and they're of the belief. I mean, I saw something uh, the other day. Biden said something like, "Yeah, inflation is really bad, and we're going to solve it by spending a lot more money." I mean, just the utter cluelessness of these people is just boggles the mind.
Okay, but you're talking here about on your piece personal income taxes. We're not talking about corporate taxes yet, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
This is just
because I've read articles that Facebook paid zero in corporate tax for this year, and Google paid 2% tax, whatever, throw the numbers around. So we're not even talking about the taxes, the revenue that they're getting from corporations, but the corporations have so many loopholes and tax breaks and tax deferrals and everything like that. They're still making money, billions, trillions of dollars. What's Jeff Bezos worth now? Couple trillion anyways.
no,
No,
there are no trillionaires.
I
No.
thought there might have been
Well,
by now.
Yeah,
the
real close to it. I think he is.
the thing about
On page zero in taxes on a 2.2 trillion net, and they say net profit. And I don't know why they're saying a net profit. I believe it's a gross profit. But if that's the truth, then he really is a trillionaire.
Huh. I would have to
And
do
well,
that,
some
except
more research on it.
he doesn't own Amazon outright. He's just a
no,
shareholder.
I'm saying though is he has what 58% or 57.7%, something like he owns it, but he doesn't own it in a sense. He whatever happens with Amazon affects him directly.
Meaning, if he
But
were to cash out all his interest in
the one I
Facebook, he would not have all that money.
is that
It's like inflated numbers. Your
over
company's worth this, but it depends on the stock market. If it's valued at 160 a share today, and then it goes way down to $2 a share, you don't have all that money. It's imaginary.
Right. Yeah, it's paper money. The in as far as Bezos goes, the progressives in this, I don't think it made it into the final bill, but one of the ways that they were scheming um, to fund it was to tax people on unrealized gains. So
right.
if you have stock in Apple and you buy it at $10 a share and you sell it at $20 a share, you pay capital gains taxes on the 20% or 20 on the $10 that you earned. What they were trying to do with this was to tax you for the gain even if you didn't sell it. So they would look at your stock portfolio and they'd say, "Oh, look, your Apple stock is $10 higher than when you bought it. You have to pay taxes on that." And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's completely unconstitutional. You look at, say, somebody who's got a private company. So let's say they earn $1 million a year from their company, and their company is worth $1 billion. They haven't sold the company, but the IRS, what they wanted to do with this was to have the IRS come around and say, "Oh, your company's worth $1 billion. We're going to tax you on that." And you're going to get taxed to the point where you would actually have to sell your business because you can't afford to pay the taxes if you're only making $1 million a year and you got to pay capital taxes on $1 billion. So, fortunately, I think that idea went away because that is probably one of the worst ideas I've ever heard
I
as
believe
far as taxation goes.
quick. I saw the figures on that by that math corporation that looks at all the figures for the rich and what their percentages are. in taxes. They have the skills and abilities to donate X amount of dollars, and they donate to the exact point that they can for a tax deferment. But that money is always put into R&D, and as long as it sits in R&D, they're not taxed on it.
That's a loophole.
It has bank R&D of $3 million. It's a lot more than that. That's just a figurative number. If they were to take 1/3 of that, it's almost like your IRAs and whatever. If they pull 1/3 of that out and use it for promotions or whatever else, they're taxed upon that money, but not what sits. When this woman drew up that bill, she thought they should be taxed on every single dime, whether they're making money from it or not. And I saw where you were going with the all of the stocks, because I was looking at some stock stuff and it rose pretty good and dropped out pretty good. Even if you lost throughout the year, they were going to tax you at your highest winning, at your highest gain, whether you gained or not, or lost it at the end of the year. It wouldn't matter. If you made $1 million and by the end of the year you had zero, they still were going to charge you the taxes on whatever that stock portfolio hit its highest. And I think a lot of it was the argument, probably Pelosi jumped on that one, like, oh, no, you're not, because that will take my money. And I saw that coming, because they're the ones who have a pretty good hold on a lot of the stock portfolios.
Well, there's a lot of insider trading there, too.
Well, yeah, and that's always going to happen. I mean, human nature is to gain as much as we possibly can, whenever we can, and then hope for the best for others. Not necessarily you and I and those on here, but you can see it coming down the pike right now. If look at Joe, I hate to keep going to Joe, but Joe was a broke person when he got into the Senate. Was broke the whole time he was in the Senate. Claim wise, was always broke, but he's worth $17 million.
Right.
Where did $1 million come from? He doesn't hold any job. He doesn't have any interest in stock that they can find. Okay. But yet his family net worth is $17 million and no one else works.
Yeah. There's some number fudging going on.
Yeah. When I think some of this bill that's been passed to Build Back Better is really going to help destroy the economy, so that those of us who make under $200,000 a year, because I think the cutoff is $275 on that. Those of us who make under $275, we are going to pay the bill. And everybody who owns a corporation, they're going to end up losing their business, because they're not going to be able to pay that. The small business guy, they're going to get sucked up by the Walmarts and the tire centers that are, super corporates. They'll all get sucked up by it. Before long, you're going to have monopolies like Walmart, Target, that will just take everything that we've got substantially from small business through this little bill they shove through. Who's going to pay that? They don't pay it. Walmart doesn't pay it. I've known the Walton family since 1977. And they don't pay taxes. They just don't.
All right. We're going to have to wrap it up here. You've been listening to Reality Remix, the podcast. Thank you again for hitting that thumbs up button, as well as for subscribing to the channel. And with that, episode 9 has come to its end. I will be bowing out at this point for a pre-scheduled trip to Europe. I will check in here or there, particularly to talk about what international travel means these days. But until then, if you enjoyed the content, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and get notifications via the bell icon. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps out the channel, so we appreciate your support in advance.